Gospel is the gospel of the second Sunday of Abib. And it says at that time the disciples came to Jesus saying, "Who then is greatest in the kingdom of God?" And so Jesus starts to talk to them about what greatness in the kingdom of God looks like. What does greatness look like in the kingdom of God? It's very different to what it looks like in the world. And Jesus uses the example of a little child, and then he starts to give them some teachings. But what I wanted to focus on today was, how can we apply those teachings? We hear these teachings all the time, and I want to touch on this week, really, so it spoke to this idea of humility. The Lord Christ says, "Offenses must come, but woe to that man by whom the offense comes." And then he says, "If your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off." Now, this idea of cutting off the hand, obviously, it's symbolic here, it's allegorical. We're not actually cutting off our own hands, but what does he actually mean? And why is he using such a graphic example of cutting off your hands? What he's saying is that a part of your body needs to be cut off if you want to be righteous and you want to be great in the kingdom of God. Your eye needs to be plucked out, your hand needs to be cut off. This is the extent that we need to go to. It's not just a theory, it's not just I listen to a woman and I say, yeah, I agree. What do I actually need to do to become great in the kingdom of God? And the first thing is that I need to recognize that I can't do it by my own ability. And Abuna said this very clearly, there's two types of extremes. There's the one which says I can do anything, that's pride. And there's the one which is I can't do anything, I'm useless, which is low self-esteem. And both are not actually what humility is. Humility is that I can do it because God can do it with me or through me. Not by my own ability and not by my inability. What I own, what belongs to me, is my will. That's the only thing that belongs to me. Everything else is temporal, everything else I can't really control. I can't control how fast my heart beats. I can't control if I'm healthy or not. I can try and influence these things, but I don't have control over it. The only thing I have control over is my will. And the moment I recognize that, and I recognize that God is the source of my power, that's when I can start to become humble. Because it means I can't, but He can. And to say I can't has to push down that ego. And then if I will for Him to work with me and in me, then I can begin to achieve these things. Then I can fulfill all the things that were mentioned in the readings today, which is that I can fear the Lord, I can walk in His ways, I can avoid grumbling, complaining, or self-seeking flattery. I can start to be faithful with the time that I have, with the resources that I have. I can start to get up early and come to church. There's a lot of things that we try and do, and Abuna mentioned it as well in the confession, when we say, I don't feel like praying, I struggle with praying. Why do I struggle with praying? Is it because I'm trying to do it by my own will, by my own desire? Am I just waiting for my emotions to kick in and then I feel like I want to pray? Can I force myself? I mean, that's self-discipline, but even self-discipline, I can only do so much. But God can give me discipline if I ask Him. But I need to be humble enough to ask Him and not think to myself, oh, I can discipline myself. I can do this, right? It's this idea of pride, and sometimes we don't realize that this is what we say to ourselves in our minds. We don't realize that we say to ourselves, I can get up out of bed in this cold weather. We say to ourselves, I can be at work on time. And often it's the things that that don't lead to righteousness that we end up doing quite well. But it's the things that do lead us to righteousness, like reading our Bible every day, like fasting from the beginning of the fast. These are the things that we struggle with. Probably because we're being attacked. Probably because this is a war. And to defeat the deception, to defeat the temptations of Satan, we need to say, God help me. So the message that Christ says to us today is that to be great in the kingdom of heaven He says, whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And the beauty of the child example is, and we see it very often, the child doesn't know how to protect himself, doesn't know how to finance himself, doesn't know how to wash himself. And so he's fully reliant on his parents. So the message we can learn today is we need to be fully reliant on God our Father, and glory be to God forever. Amen.